everybody, it's me, Miss Mariah. I'm at the Black Creek Library today. Today's pajama story time is going to be about crayons. And we're going to start with Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson. One evening, after thinking it over for some time, Harold decided to go for a walk in the moonlight. There wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight, and he needed something to walk on. He made a long straight path so he wouldn't get lost, and he set off on his walk, taking his big purple crayon with him. But he didn't seem to be getting anywhere on the long straight path, so he left the path for a short cut across a field, and the moon went with him. The short cut led right to where Harold thought a forest ought to be. He didn't want to get lost in the woods, so he made a very small forest with just one tree in it. It turned out to be an apple tree. The apples would be very tasty, Harold thought, when they got red. So he put a frightening dragon under the tree to guard the apples. It was a terribly frightening dragon. It even frightened Harold. He backed away. His hand holding the purple crayon shook. Suddenly he realized what was happening, but by then Harold was over his head in an ocean. He came up thinking fast, and in no time he was climbing aboard a trim little boat. He quickly set sail, and the moon sailed along with him. After he had sailed long enough, Harold made land without much trouble. He stepped ashore on the beach, wondering where he was. The sandy beach reminded Harold of picnics, and the thought of picnics made him hungry, so he laid out a nice, simple picnic lunch. There was nothing but pie, but there were all 9 kinds of pie that Harold liked best. When Harold finished his picnic, there was quite a lot left. He hated to see so much delicious pie go to waste. So Harold left a very hungry moose and a deserving porcupine to finish it up, and off he went, looking for a hill to climb to see where he was. Harold knew that the higher up he went, the farther he could see, so he decided to make a hill into a mountain. If he went high enough, he thought, he could see the window of his bedroom. He was tired and he felt he ought to be getting to bed. He hoped he could see his bedroom window from the top of the mountain. But as he looked down over the other side, he slipped, and there wasn't any other side of the mountain. He was falling in thin air. But luckily, he kept his wits and his purple crayon. He made a balloon and he grabbed onto it. He made a basket under the balloon big enough to stand in. He had a fine view from the balloon, but he couldn't see his window. He couldn't even see a house. So he made a house with windows, and he landed the balloon on the grass in the front yard. None of the windows was his window. He tried to think where his window ought to be. He made some more windows. He made a big building full of windows. He made lots of buildings full of windows. He made a whole city full of windows. But none of the windows was his window. He couldn't think where it might be. He decided to ask a policeman. The policeman pointed the way Harold was going anyway, but Harold thanked him. And he walked along with the moon, wishing he was in his room and in bed. Then suddenly, Harold remembered. He remembered where his bedroom window was. When there was a moon, it was always right around the moon. And then Harold made his bed. He got in it and he drew up the covers. The purple crayon dropped on the floor, and Harold dropped off to sleep. The end. All right. Our next book is called The Crayon Box That Talked by Shane DeRolf. While walking in a toy store the day before today, I overheard a crayon box with many things to say. "I don't like red," said Yellow, and Green said, "Nor do I," and no one here likes orange, but no one knows just why. "We are a box of crayons that doesn't get along," said Blue to all the others. "Something here is wrong." Well, I bought that box of crayons and took it home with me. And laid out all the colors so the crayons could all see. They watched me as I colored with red and blue and green and black and white and orange and every color in between. They watched as green became the grass and blue became the sky. The yellow sun was shining bright on white clouds drifting by. Colors changing as they touched, becoming something new. They watched me as I colored. They watched till I was through. And when I'd finally finished, I began to walk away. And as I did, the crayon box had something more to say. I do like red, said yellow. And green said, so do I. And blue, you were terrific, so high up in the sky. We are a box of crayons, each one of us unique. But when we get together, the picture is complete. The end. All right, our last book is called A Day with No Crayons by Elizabeth Rush. Liza loved her crayons. She treasured turquoise, adored apricot, and flipped over fuchsia. In fact, coloring made Liza feel tickle-me-pink. Every day, Liza filled her coloring books with aquamarine oceans, royal purple plums, and screaming green dragons. She papered the walls of her room, the hallway, and the bathroom with the bright, neat pages. Then one day, Liza ran out of paper. Her coloring books were all full, and there wasn't a single sheet of blank paper left. Liza paced her room, unsure of what to do, until she discovered, right in front of her, one blank wall. What on earth are you doing? Her mother cried. Coloring, said Liza. Coloring? Your walls? Her mother exclaimed. She snatched up Liza's crayon bucket. No more crayons for you today. No crayons, Liza cried. A whole day with no crayons? Liza shuffled to the bathroom, feeling blue. Midnight blue, in fact. A day with no crayons, she grumbled. She gripped the toothpaste crossly, squirting a blue-green streak across the sink. Now look at the mess I've made, she mumbled, smearing it towards the drain. Later, Liza trudged to the park and smacked her foot in a puddle. A day with no crayons is as brown as mud, she mourned, stomping around the basketball court. Finally, Liza slumped to the ground and brushed her grass-stained knees. The green wouldn't come off. Liza leaned forward for a closer look. She thought. That's spring green and jungle green mixed. Liza rolled over and found herself eye to eye with a lovely flower. Why, that color's not bluebell at all, she said. It's more like cornflower. Liza yanked a nearby dandelion and crushed it in her fist. When she opened her palm, it glowed. And this isn't dandelion yellow, she laughed. It's more like laser lemon. Liza jumped up. It's even lovelier than laser lemon. Liza mashed dazzling yellow dandelions into her cuffs. Then she squashed deep purple blackberries onto her pockets and rubbed brilliant orange tiger lilies down both legs. Running through the park in her rainbow pants, Liza suddenly saw color everywhere. She dragged a muddy stick across the park, stretching a chocolate brown tree trunk with long stretching branches. She pressed leaves of meadow green, sea green, and forest green in the mud and squished them onto her tree until it shimmered. She gathered flower petals and fashioned birds that flew with her across the park. As Liza left the park, she scraped an old red brick along the sidewalk, drawing a desert, some camels, then a whole caravan. Near her house, Liza gathered gray-blue pebbles and laid them side by side until an ocean swelled. Up the front porch steps, Liza scattered dandelions and rhododendron petals until a sunset glowed. That night, Liza crawled into bed, arranging her pillows around her. Outrageous orchid, she thought. Magic maze. Wondermelon. Her mother walked into the room, holding Liza's crayons. You can have your crayons back, her mother said, kissing her on the head, if you promise not to color on the walls. Liza eyed the crayons her mother held out to her. She smoothed the blankets on her bed, considering the coloring books around her spread out on the floor. She said. I think I can go one more day with no crayons. The end. All right, well, it's about time for me to go, so I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. I hope you all had a good time and enjoyed the books as much as I did. Good night, everybody. Bye.